So San Diego State, they get the win over Cal 71-50. We'll get to the last couple of days for San Diego State because I think that's really the story that's interesting to talk about from this. I mean, it's a win over Cal. It's not going to do much, I don't think, for San Diego State in the metrics. Cal, yeah, they're 7-4 entering today, but they're not a ranked team. Sure, it was on the road, but this wasn't like this great quality of opponent for San Diego State. San Diego State should have won this game. Metrics don't care about canceled flights, so I don't think this is going to do a ton, but they took care of business. It's definitely encouraging. I'm not trying to like crap at all on San Diego State's performance. I mean, they shot really well. I thought Nick Boyd was great tonight, especially from three. He made 5 threes, 17 points for him. Magoon Guath, yeah, didn't do a ton offensively, but 10 rebounds for him, a few blocks. There were a ton of blocks in this game, not just from San Diego State, but Cal as well. They got out to the early lead, obviously, first half. At the end of the first half, had almost a double-digit lead, but then they really poured it on in that second half and just right out of the gate. Like, I compare it to kind of like a UFC fight where you knock your opponent down and then you just make sure they stay on that mat. And that's what San Diego State, I think, did here in this game. It was so good for San Diego State that late they just were able to empty their bench and get guys that aren't going to get really any minutes at all the rest of the season. They were able to get them on the floor. Kimo Ferrari ended up, shooting a couple of shots. There was an air ball from someone. I think it was Lawin that air ball the three, but whatever. It was just funny. I would love that more because that means San Diego State is blowing out their opponent, just like they did with Cal tonight. It was on the ACC network, so obviously they weren't going to talk a ton about San Diego State. Their focus was going to be on the ACC team. So for anyone complaining about that, I don't really know what to tell you. Probably should have expected it. No Reese Waters, obviously, and the update there that I don't think I've talked about on the show or on this YouTube channel. He is not going to be available for January. Who knows if he's going to come back the rest of the season because he's not on his scooter anymore, but he still has a boot on. At least that was the latest update that I saw from the UT. So who knows when he is going to be able to get out of the boot and then, ramp up and how long that's going to take. And Reese Waters, he has the option of, once they get to a certain point, do you want to use your last year of eligibility or do you want to redshirt and then you use your last year either because he's going to graduate. So he'd have to be a graduate and take more classes. So if he wants to just end his college career, then he can come back, play for San Diego State in the stretch run, the tournament run, if he's able to be healthy, and you can end it that way. Or he could transfer if he wants to after this year. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like a very encouraging update for Reese Waters. I thought at the beginning of this year that Waters maybe was going to miss the first month of the year. I didn't think it was going to be this long. And obviously, it's not just this long. He's missing next month too, and we'll see if he even comes back this year. As for the effect on San Diego State, of course you'd love to have Reese Waters, the shooting that he provides and what he can do, but it's still a 8-2 team right now. It's still a strong team. Seems like they're starting to click more as well. They've got talent. They've got Nick Boyd, Miles Bird, talented. They've got size with Magoon Guath, obviously. Is he going to make some mistakes? Yeah, he's young. He's dealt with injuries, didn't play last year. But to me, there's still talent on this roster. They have some depth on the bench with Compton coming off of it. Miles Heide, I think, is making progress as well. So it's still a team that I think can do some damage in March. It's not the most talented San Diego State team, in recent years. But, I mean, they have earned their ranking. And they have this team without Reese Waters has had some really solid wins this year, including against Creighton and Houston. And, oh, by the way, those games were not at Viejas Arena. So I love watching this team play. And if they can add Reese Waters, great. If they can't, they've had success without him. And so obviously supporting Reese Waters and whatever decision he wants to make when that time comes, when he can, be healthy. But let's get to the wild 48 hours here. I guess it's less than that. San Diego State was going to fly out of San Diego yesterday. Their flight to San Jose was canceled because of the fog at the San Diego airport. So they ended up having a meal in Mission Valley, and then they bussed up to, I think, Newport Beach, and they were going to fly from Orange County to Oakland. That one got canceled. So what happened was, the flight, 18 of them, after the Orange County flight to Oakland was canceled, 18 of them, I assume you have all the players go first and they get priority. They flew out of Ontario at 12:20 p.m. The rest drove. And I think I looked it up on Google Maps. What's that, like a 6-hour drive? So that's so crazy, right? Like, as an Aztecs fan, what is this school? It's a basketball school. And I think I read this correctly from Mark Ziegler. San Diego State is the only ranked team that doesn't charter every game for their program. They are selective about it. They are careful. Okay, which ones are we using to charter? I wonder if, I could be wrong. I wonder if the charters that they pick, do they charter one way to get to the game and then they don't care about, coming back? Do they charter there and charter back, the two legs there? Or do they care about, maybe this is a better question for Dutch, obviously, than just asking, anyone watching this. Or do they just care about getting there, preparing, and then whatever the result is after, you try your best, but, you want to prioritize getting there with the charter. But yeah, it's a little frustrating that they don't get to charter, and they're flying Southwest when you're a top 25 program and you just made it to the Final Four a couple of years ago. Is that NIL money? I assume that's NIL money that you need more. Like, because San Diego State, they pack the arena like night in, night out. I don't know what more we can do giving money to the program ticket-wise. I think that they're well supported with fans buying stuff like merch. I think there will be fans that are like, I'm all in on the basketball program, and the football program stinks right now. Put all the money from the football program into the basketball program and just make the basketball program as great as possible. And maybe you can recruit, more players and, entice them with money. You can have charters all season. But if you want the football program, and not necessarily from a fan perspective, but from like the AD, JD Wicker, his perspective, or, Sean Lewis's perspective, you want the football program to get better, especially as you're going into the Pac-12. You don't just want it to be basketball. You want the football. I mean, you just have Snapdragon Stadium there. You want to fill it up. You want to create excitement around the program. It's probably harder to do that. I know they're not doing it now with, a 3-win season, but it's harder to do it, I assume, if you put even less money into the program than what it is right now. I don't know if it's equal, the amount of money with football and basketball. Still, though, it's weird to me that, they're not chartering and they're using Southwest. They got to use Southwest to get to their road game in San Jose, and then it's canceled their flights are canceled a couple of times, and then some of these guys have to drive there. So it was just a wild. I was joking on Twitter earlier today that this win against Cal should be a quad 1 win. I get it. Cal is not. That's not a quad 1 win, but the circumstances, to especially them playing, they didn't just win by 2. They didn't win on free throws. They blew out Cal after the circumstances that they had to deal with. Now, I did hear on the broadcast that Cal, I don't know if this is totally accurate, but I heard that they didn't have their shoot around because of the rims not being the right size. So just this whole thing was kind of screwed up here. San Diego State didn't do a shoot around because of flights, and they had to just get there. And then Cal supposedly doesn't do their shoot around because of the rims. It was interesting. Cal, by the way, 0 for 12 from 3 at one point in this game. So I'm not saying San Diego State didn't deserve to win, because obviously they did, but Cal definitely helped them out. And San Diego State, they were getting the offensive rebounds, and that was something that was, I think, a point of emphasis between games here. And now coming up after Christmas, they've got Utah State on, I want to say, the 28th. Yeah, that's Saturday, coming up a week from today. That's going to be an interesting matchup, and that's not going to be a Cal matchup. That's going to be a more difficult matchup. Maybe they're going to do a whiteout. Don't know. But yeah, Utah State is one of those that, brings an electric Viejas crowd. No doubt about that. So again, like I said earlier, don't know what this is going to do with, the metrics, because they don't care about canceled flights and the situation going into this that San Diego State had to face. But it was an impressive victory considering the circumstances. And I know it's Cal. It's not one of the better ACC programs. But still, it's a better program than some of the teams that they played earlier this year. And just take out that it was against Cal. There were a lot of threes being hit. There were a lot of double-digit scoring performances. There was good defense being played, offensive rebounding like I hit on. Just overall, good night for the Aztecs.